What are the other suspects?
Santa. The Santa from the party right before Christmas.
Bill McReynolds.
Bill McReynolds. Now let me tell you about this weirdo. Bill had given JonBenet a card that said, "You will receive a special gift after Christmas." He was also with the Ramsey family earlier that night at the holiday party at the White's house. This is a family friend, so it's always important to look at family friends because... Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, in the beginning of this video, you saw a clip from our JonBenet Ramsey podcast. We are going to continue doing true crime episodes on the podcast, so if you're interested in that, there'll be links for everything below. But let's just get right into it here. Today I'm going to be telling you guys about a true crime case. And it's one of those cases that's going to leave you questioning. There are some people who believe in one theory and there are some people who believe in a different theory. So it's going to be one of those where you're going to have to make up your own mind and let me know in the comments what you think. But let's go ahead and get into it. So this story takes place in 2007 in Estill, Florida, which is a teeny tiny place, barely any people living there. In the 2010 census, only 364 people live there. 364. So this is a super, super small area. And the family I'm going to be telling you about consists of Amanda Lewis, the mom. And Amanda had a job as a nursing assistant, and she often worked late night shifts. She also had 2 children from 2 different fathers, so they were half siblings. Adrianna Hutto and AJ Hutto. So this is Adrianna Hutto. She was 7 years old at the time. She had been diagnosed with ADHD, and she was quite a wild child. Amanda stated many times that she had trouble bonding with her. She actually was in the military at one point, so she left for a while, and when she came back, she just couldn't connect with her daughter. She had major hyperactivity, and I can really relate to that because I have ADHD, like full-blown ADH, as in hyperactive D. I had multiple parents as a kid call me a wild child. Like, people always said stuff like that about me. I was very hyper, couldn't sit down, like tons of energy, and I've changed a lot since then, but I can definitely relate to how adults get frustrated with that kind of child because I was that child. So Amanda really struggled with her daughter Adrianna. There was a time prior to this that Adrianna drew all over her mother's car with a permanent marker, and her mom was heard by multiple people saying, "Oh, I could just kill her." But, you know, I mean, a lot of parents do say that kind of thing out of anger and obviously don't mean it. And then there was AJ, who was 6 at the time, and he was very different from Adrianna. He was a very quiet, mellow kid, just a total sweetheart. So now that you kind of know these people, let's go to August 8th of 2007. It was a nice sunny day. Amanda had just gotten off the night shift at her job, so she was tired in the morning and was napping most of the morning while the kids were watching cartoons. And Amanda claims that that day they were going to go school supplies shopping, but they had this pool in their backyard, one of those above ground pools. It was 18 feet wide and 4 feet deep, this pool, and the kids were not allowed to go in this pool. And Amanda specifically put the ladder to the pool in their shed locked during the times that she wasn't supervising them. Now she claims that the kids went outside to just play while she was getting the house ready, doing whatever, getting ready to go school supplies shopping. According to Amanda, she was inside at the time, and AJ came into the house and said, "Mom, Adrianna is in the pool." And for some reason, Amanda, instead of going to see her daughter in this pool, which, by the way, it's important to note that Adrianna was terrified of water. There are many witnesses that said it was like her biggest fear. She was deathly afraid of water. So obviously, if you hear kids unsupervised in the pool where there's no ladder because you put it away, like, wouldn't you run out of the house to go see? So she figured she was playing around the pool, so she didn't go out to check on her. That's the first red flag. And AJ went back out there, and when she didn't hear from them for a little while, she went outside and she saw that AJ was trying to save her, trying to get her out of the pool. And that's when she realized that Adrianna was actually in the pool drowning.
He was raking in the water with his hand, like he was trying to grab her. I ran out the house. When I got to the pool, that's when I seen her. She was face down. She was very purple, very blue.
So obviously she called 911, and here's the 911 tape.
"I need an ambulance."
What's wrong, ma'am?
My daughter fell in the pool and she's not breathing.
And she's not breathing. How old is she?
She's 7 years old.
All right, hang on just a second, ma'am.
Oh, God. Her lips are purple. What do I do? Water's just coming out of her nose. Please hurry.
So absolutely frantic, obviously, as you would be if your child has just drowned. So the police came to the scene. They actually took this photo of Amanda next to the pool. They thought there was a chance that Adrianna could still be alive, so they rushed her to the nearby Bay Medical Hospital. Amanda went with them, obviously. AJ went with his grandfather. This was actually his step-grandfather. His grandmother, I believe, was there too, and they took him back to their house, obviously, to get him out of the way. At the hospital, Dr. Renee Fox was the one who was working on Adrianna, and she was trying to explain the condition of Adrianna to Amanda outside of the room, and they still thought there was a chance for her at this time. So they were trying to tell her what her current status is, what they're gonna do, that kind of stuff. And she asked, "Do you have any questions for me?" And Amanda said, "Where's the vending machine?" What? So that's another red flag. Shortly after, Adrianna was pronounced dead. And when Dr. Fox told Amanda about this, she claims that Amanda had zero emotion. So this all happened very fast. She was pronounced dead, I mean, almost upon arrival. It was very quick. So obviously the police and all the forensic people at the time thought this was an accidental drowning. It looked like an accidental drowning. There was a wagon found next to the pool that was filled with water. And there was also a pan found in the pool. So at first, their theory was that Adrianna was trying to fish bugs out of the pool, that she brought the wagon over to the side of the pool, which is definitely something that a child would do, especially a child with impulsiveness and hyperactivity. So they figured, yeah, she was on the wagon, she fell in, maybe hit her head and drowned. So they were, writing the report for that. And then they got a call from AJ's grandparents saying that AJ needed to come in and talk to the police, that he was telling them things that they're really concerned about and they should probably hear. So AJ went in there, and keep in mind, this is 4 hours after he saw his sister die. And he clearly has been through trauma. That is so traumatic, and I think he was still in shock because he doesn't act like his sister just died, but he's only 6 at the time. When you're that young, processing something like that is nearly impossible. Listen to what he told police.
Mama, don't sister.
What does that mean?
Grandma. Adrian was doing this and Mama holding him on her so she went scream.
Today?
Mama, don't sister.
What does that mean?
Grandma.
He describes his mother in a fit of anger, incensed after Adrianna sprayed glass cleaner inside the house.
She done stuff that she didn't supposed to, so my mom got mad at her. So she threw him in the pool.
Take a seat to sit in? Which one you sit in? You sit in that one? What you got? What is that? A sheriff badge. Who threw her in the pool?
My mama.
Mama threw who in the pool?
My sister, Adrianna.
And then what happened when she threw her in the pool?
She started holding her face. So Adrian started screaming, so I went pow, pow, pow with my gun. So Mama said, "Stop it!" So I didn't stop it, so Adrian screamed, AJ, call the police.
You said your mom held her face? She held her face. Yeah.
So, wow. AJ claims that Adrianna was killed by her own mother. So, a lot of people can say, well, maybe he's lying. Well, why would a kid lie like this 4 hours after it happened? Enough to tell his grandparents for them to bring him to the police station. He also specifically pointed out that when his mother drowned her, she was holding onto her face and pushing her under the water. Obviously now the investigative team is like, oh my God, okay, we had this completely wrong, which makes me wonder how many other drowning cases have actually been murders. So at first he was very specific. He definitely exaggerated some things. You can tell when a child is making some parts of it up, but for the most part his story was the same, that Adrianna was drowned by her mother. When Amanda found out what AJ said, she immediately was like, that's not true, I don't know why he would make that up. She sticks to her story that she was inside and he just has a big imagination. Pretty quickly after this whole thing happened, Amanda was charged in September. They asked her to take a polygraph test and she agreed, and she did the test and she actually did pass. That's important to note because I've watched documentaries on this and some of them are really biased and leave a ton of things out. So before trial, they obviously do an investigation, and when they started looking into things and interviewing people that knew them, they were concerned that the kids were possibly abused, if not definitely neglected, because their house had was a complete pigsty. When the investigators went in there, it was absolutely filthy. It smelled of urine. And one thing that they noticed was that there was no toys in the house. So they asked Amanda about this, and they said, you know, there's a 6 and 7-year-old here. Where are all the toys? This makes no sense. And she said, well, I took all of their toys from them as a punishment. They were gonna get them back within the week, and I stored them all in the shed. Now, I don't know if she thought they weren't gonna look in the shed, but they did, clearly. They went and looked in the shed, and there was no toys there. So that's a huge red flag. When investigators find no sign of children being able to play with something, that just screams neglect. And I mean, there's other witnesses who said that the kids weren't always fed, that they had all these behavioral problems, that she was known to lash out at them. What's crazy is that over time, AJ started to sort of tell a different story, or he told different versions of the story, or he contradicted himself. At one point he said he didn't see her there. At one point he said he was in a tree in the backyard and was watching from afar. When he showed them that tree, it was impossible for him to have seen the pool from that tree. So things like that. But this is a 6-year-old witness. So this is hard because obviously he was the only witness, and children, do they lie? Yes. Do they lie on something like this? I don't know. I feel like a child wouldn't go to that extent and like make up something about their parent and keep it going for weeks and months. But he was the strongest bit of evidence. He was the thing that really held their case together when they went to trial. So he had to be the main witness. And this was very controversial because he's a 6-year-old. How can you let a 6-year-old determine the fate of this adult? Now, before I go any further, I do want to tell you a bit of information. And that is that Amanda Lewis had another child before having either of these two. And it was a baby at the time. And she left the baby for a little while, like in a crib. And when she came back, the baby wasn't breathing. The doctors believe it was some type of a stroke, but they weren't able to conclusively say what it was. But now looking back, investigators believe that she may have had something to do with that as well. So they actually offered her a plea bargain, which is where you plead guilty to something even if you say you didn't do it, and you get a lesser sentence and you just avoid the trial altogether. So they offered her a 10-year sentence in exchange for the plea, the guilty plea. And she said, I didn't do it, so I want a fair trial, and moved forward with the trial. February 2008, so what, like 6-7 months later, the trial began. And before I play this clip, I have to warn you, it is sad seeing AJ testify on the stand. It's very rough to watch. AJ was their #1 witness.
Can you tell me what a lie is?
It's not the truth.
Can you tell me what the truth is?
It's not a lie.
And at first, he had no idea that his mom was even in the room. And I think he felt a lot safer because of that, because he probably felt guilty, you know, ratting out his mom.
If I told you your mother was in the courtroom here today, would that be the truth?
No, sir.
That would not be the truth. Why is that? Because she's not in the courtroom? Where is your mother?
Jail.
She's in jail.
That woman sitting right there between them, have you ever seen her before?
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
My mother.
Now you recognize your mother?
Yes, sir.
AJ? AJ?
Yes, sir.
All right. Here. Here.
Pretty heartbreaking seeing this little boy up there. Now, when he testified, he really stuck to his story for the most part.
I want to show you this photograph here, 1B. Whose red wagon is that? How did that wagon get there?
My mom pulled it all the way from there all the way back to here.
Did you draw a picture?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, AJ, what is this right here? Who is this, or what is this?
My mama.
And what is she doing?
Killing my sister.
How is she doing that, AJ?
Putting her hand over her face.
What is this right here?
My mother's arm.
Your mother's arm?
For the most part, AJ was consistent and able to keep up with questions, but He was only 7 actually at the time of the trial. So he kind of got some things inconsistent. He would say things that didn't make a whole lot of sense. At one point he said that she was just getting bugs out of the pool. I think all of the questions really confused him. And I have to point out that when you're 6 years old and you witness whether she was murdered or just drowned on her own, it's still traumatic, and getting the information straight on a traumatic event is very hard. Oftentimes you block out things, and I think that's why he can't remember where he was standing or what he was doing. That's why I think that the most credible testimony for him was what he said when he first went into the police office. I mean, he had no idea that this was going to go to trial. He didn't understand it. The fact that he said that, you know, right away on that day was really, really interesting to me. Really makes me feel like that's the truth. And one thing that I noticed was that in his statement, he said that his mother dunked her under the water. And that is totally the words that I would have used as a kid, like dunk. Because remember, like, dunk someone under the water, like, you know, at the pool, you'd be like the dunking game or dunking people. Like, I feel like as a child, you would use that type of language to explain it. During the trial, other people testified as well.
Amanda Lewis, how do you know her?
She's my daughter.
Adrianna Hutto, how did you know her?
She was my granddaughter.
Did your daughter seemed to have a short temper with Adrianna?
Yes, sir. She did have a short temper with her.
How about AJ? Did she have a short temper with AJ?
Not as much.
She was very upset, very irate, and we said, "What's wrong, Amanda?" She said, "I'm just gonna kill him and kill her." And I was like, "Don't say that." She was just like at the end of her rope that morning.
But there is one piece of evidence that I think really locks this in. The medical examiner said that there were bruises found on her head.
As you can see on the side of the cheek here, it lined up perfectly with the side of my left thumb. This would be the index finger where it lined up.
If you would, ma'am, just use your left hand as you would on your face, demonstrating to the jury how that would have been. Okay.
And that is consistent with what AJ said, like the grabbing of her face. They were in the right places for that to be true, which makes him so much more credible and what kind of locked it in for me. She still claims that she is, however, innocent. Her version of events is that Adrianna was trying to get bugs out of the pool. She fell in. But what's kind of weird about that is Adrianna was 7 at the time and the pool was 4 feet deep. She could have just stood up. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But there are people out there who believe that she's innocent, that she was telling the truth the whole time and AJ made everything up. So the question is, if she did it, why? Was she stressed out? Did Adrianna do something that made her mad? I mean, what would bring you to drown your daughter? Maybe she didn't mean to drown her. Maybe she was trying to punish her and it went too far. I mean, I don't know. So she was found guilty. A jury found her guilty in 2 hours, including their lunch break. So they were pretty damn sure about it. And the judge was definitely tough on her.
Under Florida law, there are only 2 possible penalties that can be imposed for the crime of first-degree felony murder. They are either death or life imprisonment. This court adjudges you to be guilty of that crime and sentences you to imprisonment in the Florida Department of Corrections for the remainder of your life.
She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So she will be in there until the day that she dies. Now, this is pretty crazy considering she was offered a 10-year sentence. If she just went that road, she would only be in there 10 years, but now she's gonna be in there the rest of her life. In 2010, Amanda filed an appeal referring to the merger doctrine, which she claimed precludes the use of aggravated child abuse as the underlying felony in a felony murder charge if only a single act of abuse led to the child's death. That makes 0 sense. But anyway, this was unsuccessful. The judge said nope. And it's just such an interesting case to ponder because if you think about it, AJ is largely the reason that his mother went to jail. Like if he never spoke up or if he didn't testify, they probably wouldn't have had enough evidence to convict her. So it's really been kind of debated, like, can we trust what this kid said? Because kids do lie. There's actually, you know, so many studies that show that kids will exaggerate the truth or completely make up things and convince themselves they actually witnessed something when they didn't. So that's my question for you guys. Do you think this trial was fair? Do you think they should have taken AJ seriously? I mean, there's debate on both sides for this. Do you think that Adrianna accidentally drowned, or do you think Amanda drowned her? Personally, my gut feeling tells me that Amanda did this, that she murdered Adrianna. And AJ's statement to me seemed so truthful, and I think especially what he said when he first went into the office. That's what I would take the most seriously, is what he said when he got there. Obviously, when you go through a traumatic event, you're gonna forget things, especially over months. This is a 7-year-old. Like, how good is he gonna remember things when it comes to the trial? And the fact that another one of her children has died in a mysterious circumstance is also pretty interesting. If you were wondering about AJ, he has been adopted and has a great family. He's doing well in school, but it's gonna be hard for him, especially as he gets older, realizing how big of a part he played in his mother's sentence. So really interesting case to ponder. I would love to know what you guys think. Do you think Amanda is guilty or not? Do you think AJ should have been taken seriously as a credible witness? I want to know your thoughts, so leave them in the comments below. But that's it for me today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.